Emily Carter was standing in line at the pharmacy, holding a bottle of ibuprofen and a bag of cough drops, when her phone buzzed with a notification that made her stomach drop. Low balance alert. Checking account $42.17. She blinked at the screen, certain it was a mistake. 3 days ago, that account had held $28,400, every dollar she had scraped together over 6 years of double shifts at the hospital, skipped vacations, and a strict no-new-clothes policy that her coworkers teased her about mercilessly. That money was supposed to be the down payment on the little blue house on Maple Street, the one with the crooked porch swing and the overgrown rose bushes that she'd been dreaming about since she signed the pre-approval letter 2 weeks earlier. She stepped out of line, ignoring the annoyed sigh of the man behind her, and opened her banking app with trembling fingers. The transaction history loaded slowly, each line a fresh wound. Zelle transfer to Linda Carter, $6,000. Zelle transfer to Linda Carter, $8,500. Wire transfer, Sunset Cove Resort and Spa, $9,200. Zelle transfer to Brittany Carter Hayes, $4,600. Emily's vision blurred. Sunset Cove Resort. That was where her family had just spent the long weekend for the biannual Carter family reunion, the one her mother had spent months talking about, the one she'd been so excited the whole family could finally be together again. Emily hadn't even attended. She'd been on a mandatory overtime rotation at the hospital and had sent her apologies along with a card and a small gift for her niece. She called her mother right there in the pharmacy parking lot, pacing next to her second-hand Honda Civic, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Mom. Mom, pick up." It rang 4 times before Linda Carter's cheerful voice answered. "Emmy." "Hi, sweetheart. We just got back from." "Mom, did you take money out of my checking account?" There was a pause. A pause that told Emily everything before her mother even opened her mouth. "Oh, honey, don't be dramatic. It's not like you were using it." Emily had to sit down on the curb, the pharmacy bag crumpling in her lap. "Mom, that was $28,000. That was my house down payment. I close on the Maple Street house in 3 weeks." "Well, we didn't know that," Linda said, her tone shifting instantly from cheerful to defensive, the way it always did the moment she was caught. "You never told anyone you were buying a house. If you'd just told us. I don't have to announce my finances for you not to steal from me." "Steal is a strong word, Emily. I'm your mother. I have the joint account access from when you were in nursing school, remember? You never took me off it." That part was true, and it was the detail that made Emily's blood run cold. 6 years ago, when Emily was 22 and terrified of failing her boards, her mother had insisted on being added to her account, just in case of emergencies. Emily had meant to remove her 100 times. She just never got around to it, because why would she? Her mother had never touched the account. Not once. Not until now. "So you used emergency access to fund a resort trip?" "It was an emergency in a way. Your sister Brittany has been under so much stress with the twins, and this reunion was the first time the whole family could be together in 3 years, and the resort had that group discount that was about to expire, and Emily, honestly, you make more money than any of us. You're a nurse. You'll make it back." Emily closed her eyes. There it was. The Carter family logic, the one that had governed her entire childhood. Emily works hard, so Emily can afford it. Emily is responsible, so Emily won't complain. Emily doesn't have kids yet, so Emily's money is community property. Where's the rest of it? I count 32,000 missing, not 28. Another pause. There were some incidentals. Spa treatments, the kids' excursion to the water park. Brittany needed a new dress for the anniversary dinner. Emily, it was 1 weekend. You'll earn it back in 2 months. I need it back, Mom. All of it. Today. Linda's voice sharpened. It's spent, Emily. It's not sitting in a drawer somewhere. You want me to what, unspend a hotel bill? You need to figure it out. That was my house. There will be other houses, her mother said, in the sing-song, dismissive tone she used when she wanted a conversation to be over. Family comes first. You'll understand when you have your own kids. Anyway, I have to go. Your father's calling me. Love you, sweetheart. Talk soon. The line went dead. Emily sat on the curb outside the CVS for 11 minutes, staring at nothing, before she stood up, got in her car, and drove home in complete silence. That night, Emily didn't cry. She was too far past crying. Instead, she made tea she didn't drink and sat at her kitchen table with a legal pad, doing something she should have done years ago. She wrote down every single time her family had taken advantage of her. The list was longer than she expected. Age 16, babysitting money borrowed for Brittany's prom dress, never repaid. Age 19, college fund partially redirected to pay off dad's truck loan. You have scholarships, you'll be fine. Age 24, co-signed a car loan for Brittany's husband, Kyle, who defaulted after 8 months. Emily paid the remaining $6,200 to protect her credit score, alone, silently, telling no one. Age 27, loaned mom $3,000 for a medical emergency that turned out to be a kitchen renovation. Age 28, this year, $32,000 gone in one weekend for a resort trip Emily wasn't even invited to attend in a meaningful way. She thought about Brittany, her younger sister, who had never worked a steady job in her life, who had been handed a down payment for her own home by their parents when she got married, who had never once been asked to understand anything. Brittany, who had spent her whole life as the golden child while Emily quietly kept the family financially afloat and was rewarded with guilt trips whenever she asked for the smallest bit of consideration. Emily thought about the mortgage broker, Karen, who had told her just last week, "You're one of the most prepared first-time buyers I've worked with. This is going to be an easy close." She thought about the crooked porch swing on Maple Street. And somewhere around midnight, staring at that legal pad, something in Emily shifted. The grief didn't disappear. But underneath it, something colder and clearer began to take its place. She wasn't going to yell. She wasn't going to beg. She was going to be strategic. The next morning, Emily called in sick to her shift, the first sick day she'd taken in 2 years, and drove straight to her bank. The branch manager, a calm, precise woman named Rosa Delgado, listened to Emily's story without interrupting, then pulled up the account on her monitor. "You're the primary account holder," Rosa said. "Your mother has secondary access, but that access does not give her ownership. Depending on how these transfers were made, this could constitute unauthorized use. Even with account access, if you can show the funds were taken without your consent and outside the intended emergency purpose the access was granted for. Can I get it back? That depends on documentation and, frankly, on your family's willingness to cooperate voluntarily versus what you'd need to pursue legally. I'd recommend 3 things immediately. 1. Remove her access right now today. 2. Request the transaction records in writing. 3. Consult with an attorney about a demand letter before you consider anything more serious, like small claims court." Emily nodded slowly. For the first time in 18 hours, she felt something other than despair. She felt a plan forming. "Do it," she said. "Remove her access. Today." Rosa's fingers moved across the keyboard. "Done. She'll no longer have any visibility or access to this account as of right now." It was such a small, quiet action, a few clicks on a keyboard, but it felt like the first brick in a wall Emily should have built years ago. Her next stop was a consultation with a family law and consumer rights attorney named Patricia Nguyen, who specialized in financial elder and family disputes. Patricia was blunt in the way Emily needed someone to be blunt. "Legally, you have options, but I'll be honest with you, pursuing your own mother through the courts is expensive, slow, and emotionally brutal, and even if you win, collecting the judgment from someone who spent the money on a vacation is its own battle. My advice? Build your paper trail, send a formal demand letter, I'll draft one, and use the threat of legal action as leverage. But your real leverage isn't the law. It's information. Families like yours run on image management. Use that." Emily thought about her mother's Facebook page, plastered with photos from the reunion, Linda in a sundress by the resort pool, captioned, "Making memories with my babies. Family is everything to hearts." She thought about the aunts, uncles, and cousins who commented, "So happy for you all," and "This looks amazing," without knowing a single dollar of it had been stolen from the family member who wasn't even there. An idea began to take shape. Not a cruel one. A precise one. Emily still had 3 weeks until closing, and she was not going to let her mother take the house from her too. She called Karen, the mortgage broker, and explained the situation as calmly as she could manage. I have about $6,000 left in savings and my emergency fund, plus what I can pull from my 401k as a hardship withdrawal. I know that's short of the 20% we planned. Karen was quiet for a moment, then said, "Let me see what I can do." There are first-time buyer programs with lower down payment requirements, 3 to 5%. That would mean private mortgage insurance for a while, but it would get you into the house now instead of losing it. Give me 48 hours. 2 days later, Karen called back with good news. A restructured loan, a slightly higher monthly payment, PMI for 18 months until Emily built equity, but the house, the little blue house with the crooked porch swing, was still within reach. Emily cried then, finally, but they were different tears than before. Relief, mixed with a hard, quiet resolve. She was not going to let her mother's carelessness cost her the one thing she'd worked 6 years for. But she also wasn't going to let it go unanswered. Patricia's demand letter arrived at the Carter family home on a Tuesday. It was polite, professional, and utterly unambiguous. It detailed the unauthorized transfers, cited the exact dates and amounts, and requested repayment of $32,000 within 30 days, or the matter would proceed to formal legal action, including a report to the bank's fraud department regarding unauthorized use of account access. Linda called Emily within the hour, her voice shrill with a mixture of fury and disbelief. "A lawyer, Emily? You sent a lawyer after your own mother. You took $32,000 out of my account without asking me, Mom. What did you think would happen? I thought my daughter would understand that family helps family. I can't believe you're treating me like a criminal over a weekend trip. It wasn't your money to spend on a weekend trip. I raised you. I fed you, I clothed you, and I've been paying you back for that my whole adult life, Mom. Every loan I never got returned. Every emergency that turned out to be a renovation. Kyle's car loan. Brittany's prom dress. I kept quiet about all of it because I didn't want to be dramatic, because I didn't want to lose the family. But I'm done being the family's emergency fund. You're being so selfish right now, do you hear yourself?" Emily took a breath, steadier than she expected to be. "I'll tell you what's selfish. Taking your daughter's house down payment to fund a resort trip for a sister who's never once had to sacrifice anything, and then calling me selfish for wanting it back." She hung up before her mother could respond, and for the first time in her adult life, she didn't feel guilty about it. 3 days later, Emily's phone exploded with notifications. Her Aunt Diane had started a family group chat titled, "Let's Talk This Out Red Heart," and had added 17 relatives, most of whom Emily hadn't spoken to since the last reunion. "Linda, Emily is suing me over a family vacation. I'm devastated. I don't know what happened to my sweet girl. Aunt Diane, Emily honey, surely we can work this out as a family without lawyers? Uncle Rick, family shouldn't fight over money. We should be grateful for what we have, folded hands. Brittany, I can't believe you're doing this to Mom, Emily. She's devastated. This is so embarrassing for our family." Emily read every message twice. Then she did the thing she had never done before in 28 years of being the family's quiet, dependable peacekeeper. She told the truth. All of it in order with receipts. "Emily, I want everyone here to actually know what happened, since Mom's version leaves a few things out. On July 14th, while I was working a mandatory overtime shift and could not attend the reunion, Mom used old joint account access from when I was 22 to withdraw $32,000 from my savings. The full down payment for a house I'm closing on in 3 weeks. This wasn't a loan I agreed to or a gift I offered. It was taken without my knowledge or consent. Here's the bank statement showing the transfers to Mom and to Brittany and the wire to the resort." She attached the screenshots. Clean, time-stamped, undeniable. "Emily, I've spent 6 years working overtime shifts, skipping vacations, and saving every dollar for this house. I wasn't even at the reunion. I found out my account was drained through a low balance alert while I was standing in line at CVS. When I called Mom, her response was, 'You weren't using it anyway.' Emily, this isn't the first time. It's just the biggest. I've quietly covered Kyle's defaulted car loan, loaned money for a kitchen renovation disguised as a medical emergency, and paid for things I was told were emergencies more times than I can count because I didn't want to make waves. I'm not doing that anymore. Emily, I love this family. But I'm not willing to fund it in silence anymore, and I'm not going to be shamed into staying quiet about being financially taken advantage of by my own mother. If anyone wants to see the actual documentation, I'm happy to share it. The group chat went silent for 11 minutes, an eternity by Carter family standards. Then Aunt Diane wrote, "Linda, is this true?" Uncle Rick wrote, "Linda?" Emily's cousin Megan, who Emily hadn't spoken to in years, sent a single message that made Emily's throat tighten. "I'm so sorry this happened to you, Em. This isn't okay." Linda never responded in the group chat at all. 2 weeks after the demand letter, Emily's father, Robert Carter, a quiet, conflict-avoidant man who had spent 30 years letting his wife run the family's emotional and financial affairs, showed up at Emily's apartment unannounced. Emily almost didn't let him in. But he looked older than she remembered, tired in a way that had nothing to do with age. "I didn't know," he said, standing awkwardly in her doorway. "About the account access, about all of it, the car loan, the renovation money, your mother told me things were handled differently than they actually were. I found out about the reunion withdrawal the same way you did, after the fact. That doesn't really change what happened, Dad. I know. I'm not here to make excuses for her." He hesitated. "I'm here because I sold my boat. It's not the full amount, but it's $18,000, and I want you to have it." Toward the house. Emily stared at him. Her father loved that boat more than almost anything in his life outside his family. "Dad, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," he said quietly. "I've spent 30 years not asking hard questions because it was easier than the alternative. You've been the responsible one since you were 12 years old, and we all just let you keep being that because it was convenient." "I'm sorry, Emily. I should have been paying closer attention a long time ago." Emily cried in front of her father for the first time since she was a child. It wasn't the same as getting the full amount back. It wasn't the same as her mother taking accountability. But it was something real, something honest, in a family that had specialized in avoiding both for decades. What Linda hadn't anticipated, what she genuinely, arrogantly never saw coming, was that exposing the truth to the extended family would cost her far more than the $32,000 ever could. Aunt Diane, who had always hosted Thanksgiving, quietly stopped inviting Linda to help plan the next family gathering, redirecting those responsibilities to Emily's father instead. Uncle Rick, Linda's own brother, called Emily privately to apologize for ever doubting her and admitted that Linda had borrowed from him twice in the past decade, without repayment either. He just never said anything. Brittany, humiliated by the public unraveling of the family's golden narrative, stopped defending their mother in the group chat entirely once her own husband's defaulted car loan came up in a cousin's comment. The image Linda had spent years curating, devoted matriarch, selfless mother, the woman who held the family together, cracked in front of 17 relatives who had, for the first time, seen the receipts instead of the performance. Linda called Emily exactly once more before the 30-day deadline in the demand letter. "You've humiliated me," she said, her voice hoarse. "Everyone looks at me differently now. Was that the point? To destroy my reputation?" "No, Mom," Emily said, and she meant it. "The point was for you to give back what you took, quietly, the first time I asked. You chose not to. Everything after that was just the truth catching up to you." There was a long silence. "I'm going to figure out how to pay you back," Linda finally said, quieter than Emily had ever heard her. "All of it. I don't know how yet. But I will." "Okay," Emily said. "I'm not going to hold my breath, but okay." 3 weeks later, almost to the day since the low balance alert that shattered her sense of family loyalty forever, Emily sat at a long table in a title company office, signing her name page after page after page. Her father sat beside her, having quietly wired the $18,000 2 days earlier with no strings attached and no mention of it again. Linda had sent $9,000, money Emily later learned had come from cashing out a small retirement account, the first real sacrifice her mother had made in this entire ordeal. It wasn't the full amount, and Patricia was still pursuing the remainder through mediation. But it was something. When the final signature was in place and the title officer slid the keys across the table, Emily held them in her palm and felt the weight of 6 years of double shifts, skipped vacations, and quiet sacrifice finally settle into something solid and real. She drove straight to Maple Street, parked in the driveway of the little blue house with the crooked porch swing, and sat there for a long moment before going inside. Her phone buzzed. A text from her cousin Megan. "How does it feel to finally have something that's just yours?" Emily smiled for the first time in weeks, got out of the car, and walked up to the porch. The swing creaked in the evening breeze, off balance, imperfect, and entirely, finally, hers. Emily still went to family gatherings, smaller ones now, quieter ones, with people who had proven they respected her boundaries. Her father visited every few weeks, always calling ahead first, always asking before assuming. Aunt Diane and Uncle Rick came for dinner on the porch in the summer, admiring the roses Emily had finally had time to prune. Her relationship with her mother remained distant but civil. Linda had repaid the full amount over 10 months, in stiff, silent installments, never quite apologizing the way Emily had once hoped she would, but never asking for another favor either. Some wounds don't close into forgiveness. Some just close into boundaries, clean and permanent, like a scar that stops aching but never quite disappears. Brittany reached out exactly once, a stilted text message that read, "I didn't know it was that bad. I'm sorry I didn't say anything sooner." Emily didn't respond right away. She wasn't sure she ever fully would. But she saved the message because it was, in its own small way, more honesty than she'd ever gotten from that side of the family before. On quiet evenings, Emily sat on her crooked porch swing with a cup of tea, in a house that was entirely, undeniably her own, and she thought about the version of herself who used to answer every "you weren't using it anyway" with silence and guilt. That version of her was gone now. And she wasn't coming back.